Welcome on board. This is Habari 254. Today we are going to have a candid discussion about life skills and values of our children at school, the head of Upbet Schools in Kenya. Welcome on board.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
I'm blessed.
How do you feel about today's event?
Today's event is an eye-opener to all the stakeholders in education, for the findings are actually worrying and they are very real. For example, you find that the learners, or maybe the adolescents between the age of 7 and 17 years who are good at ICT are actually at 43%. But the ones who cannot do, or the ones who are good in collaboration and other things, are below 10%. And this is why you can see that even when these people go to the high school, they graduate, they go to the university, the eventual thing is what we talk of computer. What you give in comes out.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Today's theme is, do our children have life skills and values? What do you think about this theme?
I would say that the findings is very true, that we are lacking values, we are lacking life skills, and even when we look at the core competencies which are now being emphasized in CBC, those ones have not been acquired by our learners so far. Even though we are talking about the way the new curriculum has taken off, you can get the truth from this report, because I am also a director to a school and I visit many schools across the country, and I can tell you for sure we are having a lot of problems. And what you find happening in the adult life is what is happening also with our learners, because we are told that soft skills and even the competencies are well taught through examples. And even if we talked about the books, we talked about the teachers teaching, with the best teacher, the first teacher is the parent. And if the parent at home is not having the needed skills to empower their children, you don't expect these children to learn better skills from school or from their peers. When they find that the parents are not collaborating at home, the parents are not doing what they are supposed to do, then at school or elsewhere, you find that these learners will not collaborate. In fact, they will become worse. Yes.
You talked about competencies in CBC.
Yes.
And we have 7 core competencies.
Yes.
Now, I would like to know it from you. How can we collaboratively support the development of those 7 core competencies?
Thank you very, very much. That's a very good question. And I would like to say that the very first step to developing these skills is by all of us getting involved and believing in them. One, right from home. I want to repeat that one. Right from home, we need to have all the parents agreeing that if we want to have a good future for our learners, we must actually start teaching those skills, those competencies at home. When we talk of critical thinking, and you find that mostly, especially in the urban centers, when you want to maybe, or maybe you find that many parents have employed the home managers. Those home managers are the ones who are running the skills on behalf of the children, because if it comes to even getting solutions to a few items when the parents are not there, there's somebody who will be able to do it for them. Meaning, we are actually selling the future of our children to the people whom we are employing. When it comes to the issue of collaboration, if a parent, let's say that a parent which has a father and a mother, and both of them are not agreeing, they are not working as a team, you find that even when they have got simple activities at home, they are showing the learners that they are not together. Those kids will not even collaborate when it comes to the discussion, the group work at school. And when they are given projects, they will borrow the idea of what the parents do. And so even when the teachers come to assessing these learners to see whether they are collaborating, they have got that competence, then it will always be below or maybe approaching expectation. Yes.
Now, let us talk about the acquisition of capacities to develop life skills and natural values.
Yes.
And in your opinion, how will our teachers acquire the needed capacities?
Thank you very, very much. I would say that one, the teachers we are having, they are those, we have got 2 categories. One, we have teachers who have not gone through any training to do with the CBC. And so they have actually the old mentality that what we want to tell the children or to teach them is just the theory bit. So what I would say to answer that question is that we need to have a good capacity development of all our teachers. We need to train them, and I would like actually to urge the teachers, wherever they are, that it is very, very important at this level for them to make sure, first, they agree that CBC is the way to go. Number two, when they are actually ready to go and teach them, they should leave them. They should live according to what they are going to teach to these children, because the learners, even if you give them a lot of training, you give the teachers a lot of training, and yet they are going to do contrary when they go to school, it becomes a very difficult thing. I'll give you an example. When you talk about the life skills or maybe the soft skills and such like things, you will realize that some teachers are the ones who are causing the learners even to drift from those good skills and competencies which have been put in our curriculum designs. The other day I got a case where a teacher who found a learner not having the issue of integrity. The teacher went on broadcasting to the whole school, took it to the staff room, and even took it to the assembly, instead of the teacher calling the learner and telling them that now, if you want to solve a problem, you need to have integrity, you need to have good idea on this and that. Instead of that, the teacher now brings it out in a way that this learner feels that now they have to become like rebels. And so the teachers need to be in these competencies, the skills and everything else that they are teaching, they live according to them.
And I would like to know it from you. There are some people who are arguing that 844, they were doing the sheer comparison between 844 system and CBC, where they were saying that the problem with 844 was all about implementation, and they would like us to revert back to 844 from CBC because they think that CBC is so tiresome, and learners and even parents are using a lot of resources.
Thank you very much. And I would like everybody to get my answer very correctly and clearly, that CBC is not tiresome. In fact, let's first of all take what many people have been arguing, that this curriculum, especially for the JSS, is too detailed. There is a lot of work for the learners, they are too young. I would like them to know that the curriculum being offered, I have singled out the JSS because this is now where everybody is discussing about, or what everybody is discussing about. The learning areas which have been brought by the KICD are very shallow, very, very shallow indeed. And any teacher, even the P1 teachers, can be able to deliver or maybe to teach these areas so well. And if the learners are not well guided, they can even finish the curriculum in less than even the time that has been stipulated. They can be able to finish it by July. But because there are things that we want them to learn, we need to move according to the set guidelines, that is the curriculum designs, so that they are able to grasp those skills we are talking about well. Now, we go back to the 844. Anybody advocating for 844, I would say maybe it is because they went through that system. The system where people knew how to steal exams. The system where people knew that just passing the exam was what we needed to go to school to. And there are many parents and other stakeholders who still believe that even today, that when you go to school, you are going there to pass exam. Let me give you this true observation which I got in one of my engagements with the parents, that now because we are having the CBC and it is not exam oriented, it is not competitive, then we can remove our learners from the private schools so that they can go to the public schools where the kids are very many in classrooms, and even though they are not learning, by the end of the day, they will just be assessed, and that's all. And I would like to tell our people, even our government officials and every other stakeholder in education, we don't go to school to learn to pass exam. We go to learn in order to succeed in life. And so what I would like every one of us to know is that in the public schools right now, the population is too much. It's actually a bit high for the teachers there to be able to control and contain. And so the parents who might actually be having such a thought are completely misguided, and actually the idea they are having are not true. So I would like them to know, when we take our runners to school, be it a public school, be it a private school, we are taking them so that they can acquire the skills necessary for them to actually be self-reliant in life. So when we now come to compare the CBC and 844, it is like comparing heaven and earth. These two are very different.
In that context,
yes.
Is there support that can be given for the acquisition of life skills and values in the community?
Yes. We are already having a policy developed by the government, which we are calling the parental engagement. And the parental engagement is lacking. Okay, at the onset, that around 2016, when CBC was almost being rolled out, there were pilot schemes which were done across the country, where the parents were invited to seminars. They were being told about CBC, what it was to be all about the skills, the competencies, and the rest. But that was not enough, because we know whatever they got, they have already forgotten. I would say the first person who need now to be given the proper empowerment is the parent, for them to support the current curriculum of education, that is the CBC. And the next one will be now the teacher, which can be done gradually. Already the Ministry of Education, through the TSC, they have already started. Meaning we need to have more resources to help the ministry, to help even the stakeholders, empower the parents. And for the parents, instead of them all the time talking ill about CBC, I would like them to compare the learners who have already gone through the CBC and the ones who've gone through the 844, and you will see that there's a big difference in terms of self-reliance. The ones who have gone through the CBC can be able to stand on their own and do things which otherwise would not have been done by a learner who was in the same environment but going through the 844 syllabus.
Assuming you are the Minister for Education, Dr. WANJOHI.
Hallelujah, I know one day I will.
What would you do differently in as far as the implementation of CBC is concerned?
Thank you very much. One, whatever I will mention, I would not like to appear that I'm challenging our Minister for Education, because he's a gentleman whom I respect. He's also a personal friend. But we can say this is the kind of advice that we offer to them, and what we can also offer as we move forward. One, I would like us, first of all, to make sure that the findings of the task force set by our president are implemented to the last bit. Because now, what have been got is not got from one individual, but it has been got from the whole country. And the ideas, the suggestions are very rich. I wouldn't like to remove them out, give them out here, because the president has not announced them. But I would say, through those findings, then we are going to have a very good implementation of the curriculum. But what I would say, without touching into what that report says, we need to be people, or to be a ministry which listens to the parents, a ministry which listens to the stakeholders, and a ministry which listens to the consumers, so that now we don't go back to where we are at this moment. I would like to remind our viewers that during the time that the first cohort of CBC, or maybe at the first implementation of the CBC, we had a minister by the name Ambassador Amina. And when she said that we need to have like 3 more years for us to be able to implement it fully, then she was actually removed from that ministry. And it was very sad, because she was realistic. And any time that we have a realistic person in our ministry or in the country, we find that in most cases they don't continue in that ministry for long. So what I would advise is, the people who know the the ideas, the foundations, the vision of CBC should actually be the people who are spearheading the implementation of CBC, because there are two things: a vision bearer and a vision supporter. They are two different people. We find that in the Ministry of Education, like even if we went to KICD, we had the lady who was doing it so well, but I think now she has retired. This is Dr. Kanana. Someone like Dr. Kanana is still young. Why should we let such a resource go and look for employment elsewhere when we know that whatever she began has not gone to even in 30%? So the people who started this curriculum should be safeguarded in the ministry, even if they were taken like experts who are paid by the government to make sure that this curriculum is well implemented.
Dr. Wanjohi, as we wind up, touching on the package concept of CBC implementation,
yes,
do you think we are making progress?
Thank you very much. I would say that we are making progress, but in a very, very slow way. One, the main drawback was the acceptance of this program or this curriculum by the stakeholders because of the implementational process. It is started in the wrong footing. However, with what we are doing now, and we have gone up to the climax or the pivot of the primary education, that is the grade 6, I can be able to say that if we continued with the pace that we are having, we are going to make it. However, some challenges to be considered. When we talked of the JSS, and then we had already, we had talked of the learners in grade 6 selecting schools to go to for their junior secondary, and we changed it halfway or midway. It caused a lot of problem. So what do I want to say here? I would like people and all the officials in the ministry to understand that when we keep on changing goals, we are confusing the learners, we are confusing the parents, we are also confusing the teachers. Why did we make all the classrooms which were launched by our late professor, and then they are lying idle in the secondary schools? So there are very many things which went wrong because of the wrong process of implementation. Yes.
So I think we've come to an end of our candid discussion touching on the life skills and values of our children. That was our guest, Dr. Wanjohi, who is the head of Upbeat Schools in Kenya. Thank you very much. This is Fazul of Habari 254.